And I'm live. God. See, it's still skin. It's painful and it's all breaking out. I've not got a fucking toilet roll. They put it into allergy attacks. I'm supposed to be on allergy tablets. That doesn't help because my allergies are too strong for the tablets. They gave me an injection to inject into me when I took an allergy attack to severe. But my allergies are also not that severe. They're in between. So there's nothing that they can do. I just have to fucking... I just have to keep going with like creams and stuff. I'm still up as well. That's cute, seeing me still up. Right. Bella's a bit toilet roll for my fucking cream. I'm going to see if this helps. My fucking skin is a mess. I'm taking an allergy attack. I don't know what to... I'm talking to myself as well as them on there. I'm talking to you as well. Right, can you think of something that I've eaten today apart from cheese savouries, beer, my burger, barbecue sauce, cheese? Maybe there was something on my burger that I didn't care about.
It could be the fucking meat on it, anything.
I could be allergic to the lamb. I didn't mean to put that much on, Harry. I just squirt it out. Let's see if this helps.
I should let it soak in and be well.
I need to rub it in though, because my face is literally soaked. I could tell you one thing. My face hasn't got any dirt in it whatsoever. So my face is clean.
Because usually I take that out.
Completely clean. So what's causing the spots? What am I broke out with? Like, there is no dirt on that. Look.
You ever had oily skin?
I've got very bad oily skin, yes.
Well, that caused it.
But I got tell it was because of an allergy.
What did you get that and let in your eyeball? And you put it on your eyelids.
Right. Like my skin is pure clean. I've got very clean skin. There wasn't a tiny, even a tiny wee bit of dirt on my fucking skin there. Alright, there was not the slightest wee bit of dirt on that. What?
Does my face ever look that way?
No.
I never wash it.
I never look dirty.
I never wash my face.
I do. When I'm in the bath, I'll splash the water up and use...
Oh, if I'm in the bath, I'll get clean for it. But I never actually wash my face.
I'll wash my face when I'm in the bath. All the time.
That's the only time my face gets washed.
I would have thought that I would have gotten some dirty pores. Kind of like when you cleanse your face, you usually get dirt. That was pure cleanliness. Like my fucking skin is clean. But yeah, I'm still getting spots all over my face. My skin's clean. Why is it like that?
Fuck no.
Because if my skin was dirty, you would have seen it on that fucking bit of tissue.
Eyeless kid could do it.
I've got oily skin, but I was told by the doctors it was allergies. But
Then the all was right, isn't it?
no. You'd think if that was an allergy, I would struggle to breathe. I'd have sore throats and things like that.
Well, it's hard to mark up an allergy. I'm still a little bit at the back here. In a chain.
You could be right about my face, but you can, it's no dirty anyway. I've got a very, very clean face. I've even cleansed my neck with it. And your neck is always the dirtiest part. When you wipe, you always get dirt for your neck. When I was doing that, everywhere is all clean. I'm very clean, but you still get that. Right, let's try some. I should have a wee bit of cream on there to try it on my hands.
I'm going that one and we'll. Need that one anyway. Oh. Normally you get traces of that sulfur.
Right. Let's try it.
I think if I did that on my face, it'd be fucking dirty.
No, but I'm trying my hands. Your hands are always the dirtiest place. And between all my fingers. How am I that clean?
I can assure you, if you tried that on me, I would get dirty.
I must be the fucking cleanest lass in fucking Britain here. Or on earth. It could be because I've got a habit of constantly washing. Oh. Because there's no dirt on my skin. I am completely clean. I can't use fairy liquid. I change your washing powder. Well, I did get told I was allergic to soap. But
well, I'm not supposed to use soap.
But see, when I use soap, it doesn't do anything. Like, I didn't come out in a rash, but the fucking doctor said I did. But I've used it for years and it doesn't bother me. Like, I didn't get itchy or anything.
Yeah, if I use too much soap, I get all buggered up.
Doesn't bother me. The doctor says it does, but the doctor fucking talks to his ears. It was a Polish doctor. Right, come on, I've got to have a dirty hand. Somewhere. How is my body that clean? How is my body that clean? That just shows you I might have OCD with cleanliness.
I'm be sure if I put stuff on my face and they wipe it off, the dirt on it.
Well, My skin is 100% clean. I have not even seen one speck of that coming off my skin, including around here.
Alright.
My skin's clean. So getting the spots I get on the face, as I say, with non-bad hygiene. Because I've got really good hygiene, as you can see. No dirt coming off my fucking hands or my face.
Alright.
So I've got really good hygiene. So where's the spots coming from?
Vaginal.
I take care of my appearance.
Probably I'm allergic to something.
Well, Tracy's saying that she's allergic to fairy liquid. Well, because she can't use fairy liquid.
You gave me an allergy to that leather chair.
I am.
Alright.
But why would I break at the face?
Well, your face isn't all that, but
I usually breaks at my chest. My chest has broken a wee bit, I think.
I could make me fun your allergies here. I am blue.
But I am. But it doesn't do that. Something's doing that to my skin. And my skin's spotless.
Oh. I don't think on the two is going to soak enough.
Wide awake. I know my skin's clean. I know I'm spotless. But I'm going to try some. I'm going to try and get deep into the pores. Like, really deep into my pores.
Alright.
I'm going to try that.
And I'll go for the piece.
I've got to try something. My skin might be fucking spotless. But because I've got these spots, it's giving me an OCD fucking thing. And I've got it. Have you got scissors, Uncle Larry?
Huh?
Scissors.
Oh, but yeah, somewhere.
I need to get into that.
What I don't know.
Kitchen. I think. I'm going to have to try something for my skin. It's breaking it. It might be clean, but it's not clean enough for my fucking... Not in the drawers. Check the bunker or the table.
I can't see the fucking table.
Cockle-doo-doo-doo. Right. And then just wipe off where I dry... No. With a tissue. Right. Okay. I will.
I've got that on a wee file.
Sometime in the afternoon at some point, because I'll need to go to the shop and that. Right. There's loads sitting there. That's a waste. I didn't think I'll be sleeping at all. Right. Leave that on my skin to moisturize for 10 to 15 minutes. Get me a bit of toilet roll. I'm completely wide awake, like. There's no sleeping for me at all. Right. My skin is completely clean now. This will be taking out any pores from the inside. Harry, give me a bit of toilet roll. Harry, toilet roll. He's normally sleeping at this time. I think it's just because I'm keeping him awake. Look, there's loads in it. Right? So it's going to waste. We have to leave that for 10 to 15 minutes and then just wipe off it.
You know what to roll up like that.
To save it. To save it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want any more out.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's going to waste.
Well, just fold it, roll it down. And bend the corner back.
Sellotape it my bed. He's not tired either. We're both wide awake, aren't we?
Yeah.
Look at me, I've got a white face. Do you kind of actually feel like it's drying in? More than it's doing anything. It says put on your face and a wipe off. With a tissue. I'm just trying anything to get rid of the fucking spots on my skin. I've not got cucumbers. I wish I had cucumbers. It feels like I get face mask. I can feel my skin tingling. There's heat on there. And heat there. It's doing some. Aye. I think we're on night owls, Tracy. Oh, it's starting to harden. Certain bits. It's starting to harden.
It's
It's gone hard.
What is that?
Don't-
What can you do that? Oh, fuck, my head is gone hard.
We should do Tracy, yeah.
Maybe try Jenny. It's my best to be cute now.
I'm trying not to laugh.
Right. You don't laugh. Maybe try Jenny. Well, I think what you want.
Oh, it's making my skin feel a tingle now.
Is it? I think what you want.
Around here and around here.
Right.
How is there and it's moved?
Well, you got my beat. I think what you want.
It's clear stuff, so you didn't notice any cracks. I can feel it. If I move the camera closer, you probably see them. Ah. Ah.
I'm not gonna not go. Right. Hey, Bella.
Right.
I got all gear.
I've got all the gear. Oh, look. I cracked it. I've cracked it.
Oh.
You don't notice that on camera as much. It's good having clear fucking face mask. You don't notice the cracks.
Oh, you've got that. That's stuff you got.
Ah, it's an actual face mask.
Oh.
But I feel like there's loads in it. I could probably do my face again. No, that would do my face again. There's loads in that.
Well, squeeze it down the bottom to the top, down,
You got anything to clip it?
and then.
So I can use that again in the morning or in a few hours. I'm just not wanting that going to waste. There's so much in it.
Well, fold it up. Make sure it's squeezed down. Fold it out at the top. And roll it down as much as you can. And then bend the corner down.
Aye. Got it. Save that. There's loads in it. I'm not wasting all that. There's loads of face mask in there. I can do another face. Another face mask, I meant. I take it it's going to waste and you can't find it. See, it's bulging. So much face mask I would have wasted. Shut myself. I'm staying at Harry's tonight, Tracy. I've got all my stuff here, so I'll be alright. Got nothing at him anyway. Save that until the morning. Perfect. I'm not wasting all that. Too much fucking face mask to go to waste. Oh no, my skin's itching.
You not really get that.
Right there.
Yeah.
I can't scratch it because I'll crack it all.
And then, after you get there, yeah. I'll start to get it, here, there. And I'm going to go. And I've lost my all it's up there.
No, it's not cracking or anything, so that's good. It feels like my skin could crack because my skin feels so hard, but it might be just the feeling it's giving off. Leave it on till 5-2. Then wipe it off with a tissue, it says. For what? Why did I lick my lips? Yucky. Oh, I got into your face. You alright, Uncle Larry? If you're wanting a beer, there's beer in the bag.
I couldn't have been getting right malt there.
Alright. You got heartburn?
Yeah. I sure have. What you want, Bella? Getting my wee kitten that you want then.
I am a wee Bella. Right. 5-2. Right. So wipe off with a tissue.
Maybe try jelly. Yeah. There we go.
This is so weird. Even with this, there is no dirt on my face.
Well, that's a good thing now.
I bet you'd think you would get dirt after using a face mask. It's normally meant to go into the pores and proper clean you out. Hiya, Mick. Oh, I've got my face all sticky in it because I can't get it right off. Oh. Right. There.
What, Laura?
It's made my skin look shiny. At least my spots are not as red. That's better. My skin needed that. My skin looks so soft and shiny. Look at it.
Yeah.
That's a very clean face. At least you know I take good care of my hygiene.
You should always eat plenty of fruit and veg.
I don't like fruit and veg unless it's broccoli and cauliflower and
Yeah, I know. But
Brussels sprouts.
a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, well, there are some of that stuff that does help.
Mm. What's everybody up to?
Oh, there are vampires out there.
Ah, there's other vampires on. My skin feels so good right now.
Some would say unnatural fashion, which is why this place is
They're
commonly
all
known as
red.
the Crooked Forest.
You see this forest, it's very striking. Trees come up initially straight, and
Yeah.
then they take a sharp bend all to the north, and eventually curve back up again.
You've all come with colours like
To see maybe one tree grow this way might not be unusual, but to see a whole grove of trees grow this way,
That's
clearly
weird.
something was at work.
Although scientists have dated the unusual trees to the 1930s, local records became lost after the end of World War II. The only thing we know for certain is that these are otherwise normal pine trees that, for whatever reason, didn't grow straight.
I don't know that anywhere else in the world that we could walk into a forest and see such broad, dramatic, sweeping curves throughout the entire stand. And so there have been a lot of questions, a lot of speculation as to what caused this. Everything from
Wipe the stuff off my mouth. Because I can taste the navel bug and stuff.
To snow and wind loads on these stands, to chemicals that might have been in the soil, or genetic questions that might be at play.
Some of the theories talk about alien intervention.
Are you just chilling to, I'm the same, I'm just chilling watching the telly. And I've been cleansing my face and put a a face mask on it, so I've been beautifying myself.
Natural processes would cause a much more sort of gradual curve or lean in a tree, but not such a
Well, I'm covered in face mask and fucking moisturizer and everything. What you want?
consistent and more extreme than you would typically see in any sort of.
You'll get covered in stuff.
Would suggest that it was
He's
probably
on the
an
trees for
manipulation.
being.
Don't lick my hands. That's moisturized. Don't lick me. Right, anyway, you're gonna. No, my hands and my face is all clean. I just moisturized and put a face mask on and moisturized my hands.
They actually grew trees that already had that curved shape. Whatever happened to these trees, most likely.
I'm trying to beautify myself, Bella. Leave me alone.
This obviously would have taken a lot of thought and work on the part of somebody to go out and plant this forest, to go in and prune or otherwise manipulate these young trees and tend them to create this kind of big sweeping bend. And then that raises the other part of this mystery of change, that nobody came back.
So the idea that humans cultivated these trees to make furniture or for some other manufacturing purpose, it doesn't really add up. The question is, why would anybody go to that kind of trouble? And I mean, we're talking at least 10 years to produce a tree with that kind of bend, only to disappear when it comes time to harvest them.
If the crooked forest isn't the result of some arborist's bizarre plan,
Oh,
then what else could explain the tree's strange and contorted shapes?
see the love our sweets used to get. I taste like that.
Could it be that these trees have some kind of capability that we
Oh,
don't
yum.
understand?
I want to lick my lips.
Plants have spiritual essence.
You and your dirty mind.
Plants have soul. And in that sense, what we might think in terms of being a person or
No, Bella.
Yeah.
amongst our people,
Right,
the
right.
trees, they do have a spirit. Not only trees, but everything. But mankind, we don't see that. We don't understand.
Bella, don't. I'm trying to beautify
There's
myself.
also in Japanese culture where they talk about
I'm trying to make myself look pretty.
trees. And even in the Druid traditions, they wouldn't even approach a tree or walk
I'm gonna-
underneath the leaves of a tree without asking permission. They would
As-
speak to the tree.
Stuff on my lips.
Is it possible that the pines of the
Chapstick,
forest
look.
are actually capable of communicating?
That's all it is.
While such a notion may seem far-fetched, scientists are beginning to discover that trees and other plants have far greater capabilities than previously known.
When you step into a forest, all the trees around you
Smells good, eh?
They're
Just licking your lips.
actually a community that are communicating with each other. The forests are often connected underground through their root systems by.
Does Mum smell nice?
Basically, little threads of
Does
tendrils
Mum smell
that
nice?
connect the roots and then
Hey.
connect that tree to other trees that it's also connected to.
Mummy smells nice, eh?
So the question is there an advanced form of consciousness in a way that inhabit trees? And even in the
Like, leave me to beautify myself.
changing the way that they look at trees, and they've been seeing that trees possess a sort of intelligence where they communicate amongst each other.
If the trees of the crooked forest grow that way because someone or some force willed them to, if true, it could revolutionize the way we humans interact with the wondrous world we live in. But it might also help to explain another, less benign phenomenon. Windsor, Ontario. Located along the Detroit River, this Canadian city seems, by all appearances, to be quite normal. But if you listen closely, you'll hear something strange. Do you hear that humming noise? Well, if you do, be careful. It may just drive you mad.
About a decade ago, in Windsor, Canada, people began hearing a hum. Some people, not everyone, and not all the time, but this was a serious, significant hum.
I was born in Detroit, and I would go to Windsor, Canada quite often during my days as a reporter in that city. People are hearing a strange hum that affects them, literally drives them crazy. And nobody's been able to pinpoint exactly what's happening there.
Most people would describe it as a very
don't know.
low frequency
Like a place where the
sound.
constant
Oh, Canada. It said Canada. Canada. That would drive me insane.
Sometimes I get like a rumble, like almost thunder, but it's definitely not thunder. It changes from one moment to the next. Sometimes we get 4 hours, sometimes we
I
get
think
4
what people
days,
call
4
it
weeks. Sometimes it's non-stop. Sometimes it's been like really, really intense where it kind of has a little, to me, it has a little grind to it.
they're
as
on
well.
the run, they're all working.
It would be in the middle of the
Shut
night.
up.
You're hearing it, or
UFOs.
it's like a boom, boom noise.
They're blind and they've got this arm,
Imagine
they're
that you're
blind.
sitting in a room trying to
They're
relax,
working secret.
and there's this low-level humming sound in the background that you can just barely hear, and it's continuous. So if you have this constant acoustic hum in the background, this could cause.
She's been fed, Harry. It's fucking 5:10 in the morning and she can fuck off.
It's ruining their lives. It does affect.
Oh, you didn't realise it was 5:10 in the morning?
No, I didn't hear it.
It just resonates through the house. Sometimes it gets so bad, you get so infuriated with it that it scares the hell out of you. You just want to get away.
Oh, behave, Bella.
Windsor being such a highly industrialized city, we have a lot of different sources of noise, but when it didn't go away.
No, that's you fucking letting go of your wind.
For the residents of Windsor, the hum is no longer a mere curiosity. For them, it's become a full-fledged crisis, one that the local authorities have tried to address.
The Canadian government did a study, and the report suggested that it came from Zug Island across the Detroit River in Michigan.
And the conventional theory is that U.S. steel factories that are located on Zug Island are somehow causing a weird reverberation effect that is carrying that sound across the lake, and people are hearing it.
One possible explanation has to do with a phenomenon called
Anyway,
resonance.
it is.
So it
Yeah,
could be
good company.
whatever
Oh, behave yourself, Harry.
Areas that's vibrating.
Stop talking about UFO shite. It's not. There's no such thing.
Surrounding structures to begin to amplify at that exact resonant frequency.
The human use of industry is fairly common from place to place. And so when you think about Detroit, if the hum or the noise is from industry and that type of noise, you would expect it in other places. However, nature and natural noise is more localized and distinct.
When it first started, no one knew what the hum was. They started studying it, and that's where the Zug Island theory came up. But there's all these what if questions that come up. Why is it felt in the evening hours, maybe, versus more so during the daytime? Why do you feel it on a weekend? Are they actually running their facility on the weekend?
I can't hear you, Harry.
When the weather patterns are different, it definitely does pose a lot of questions and a lot of what ifs.
It could be many other places that generate this. And low frequency sound could be due to seismic activity. The Detroit area, we know there's been an increase in
seismic activity.
One natural phenomenon that creates low frequency noise is earthquakes. In several cases, you can hear the earthquakes occurring. They're very low frequency, mostly below the human hearing range, but in some cases they can be heard. Interestingly, some of the residents in Windsor have noted the rattling of windows. And I've experienced an earthquake where I had no idea it occurred, except all the windows of my house started vibrating. There was something in that resonance of that earthquake that was the same frequency as my windows.
These hums are around on this planet in certain areas. Exactly what's causing it, nobody knows, but it's very annoying to a lot of people. Just imagine yourself trying to sleep, feeling this hum all the time. It drives you nuts.
I don't think it'll ever be solved. I'm hoping it will be. I won't give up until they find an answer or tell us what's going on. If they can fix it, fix it. If not, let us know why not.
It'd be nice if it would be explained. Maybe one day. It would be great if it went away. It'd be nice not to hear it anymore.
Is the nauseating hum experienced by the people of Windsor really caused by nearby industrial plants? Or is it due to something even stranger? There are some who believe that the hum may come from the same place, where geologists believe there lies an incredible energy, one so powerful, so unstoppable, that one day it may actually wipe out all of mankind.
Are we alone in the universe? The truth is out there. There's just so much evidence that you can't keep it hidden anymore.
UFOs are real.
We've heard firsthand from experts and witnesses.
The theory is we have a controlled, autonomous surveillance of the Earth by these anomalous objects.
Mind blowing.
We can agree on that.
Are we perhaps human or are we extraterrestrial?
I still think this can be explained by science.
Oh, look at that one. That is an unidentified flying object. Wherever they are, they're not of this world.
Brand new Craig Charles UFO Conspiracies, Tuesday night on Sky History.
Fear is driving the world like never before.
And we've only gone and found a way to make money out of it.
My work computer's been compromised.
He can't be trusted.
I'm being framed.
Financial markets are in chaos right now. This is just
It won't stop. Unless I stop it.
We're back, Oak Island. Fellowship of the Dig. What we got here? Bingo. It's gold. All right. Search for gold is what drove this 230 years ago. This doesn't look like a wild goose chase. It looks like there's some gold here.
Is it cool?
Oh, yes. I still believe there's some answers in this swamp. The goal, the focus, the hope that was always solved the mystery. This is the year we go for the gold. Don't the gold. I want to find the answers. This island has got to be close to giving up its secrets.
Brand new, The Curse of Oak Island, Wednesdays at 9 on Sky History.
It rises from the earth like a giant fist, stretching out to strike the sky.
Oh, cool.
A colossal, 900
What's
foot
that?
stack of rugged rock.
Rock.
Its very name conjures notions of both awe and dread. Devil's Tower.
Ouch.
Devil Tower is remarkable because you can drive across the sedimentary plain, see nothing but flat ground for miles and miles. And in this tall, dark tower...
Well, that could have been as the earth was attached at one point and it's all crumbled away and went down. I bet that bit's like been left. Think about it. But that's been left. Yeah.
Located in northeast
There's always a
Devil's
explanation for
Tower
things.
was declared America's very first national monument in 1906 by President Theodore Roosevelt, who sought to protect it as an object of scientific interest. Since then, many have asked, what could have caused this massive tower to form?
There are many theories about it, but there's no agreement on what it was that produced this miracle of nature.
It is made of volcanic type material, but there's no other volcanic activity around it. So what caused this thing? We don't know the answer to that question. It's a really interesting conundrum.
Is Devil's Tower really a miracle of nature?
No, it's not a miracle in nature. There's an explanation for everything.
So, that explanation is simply not good enough.
As much as we like to walk around with the confidence that we know this planet, we understand the planet we live on, there seems to be nothing but mystery on this planet. We don't understand how to predict earthquakes.
Think about it.
We don't understand how
It's been a bit of Earth at one point, the Earth at one point, and just through time, bits of the Earth has shrunk down, but it's left that instead.
Suggested that the key to understanding Devil's Tower is to think of it the way many Native Americans do. Not as a natural formation, but as an unnatural one.
The native peoples of the area have worshipped this tower as an altar of sorts. And many feel like they can climb to the top of this place and get divine inspiration, become empowered. And the question is there some truth to this native legend? That this place is a sacred place on the planet? And it is a
You could probably build this is up there.
communicate to the spirits or to the universe or to the gods that they believe in.
To view Devil's Tower, if you want to call it that, Makhotibila is what we call it. It's a sacred place. And when you see it from a certain distance, even then, you start to feel the wonder of it, the sacredness of it.
Mind you, if you build this up there, how would you get back down?
Positive. Energy starts to build. You feel it even more when you get to the base of the tower.
I think in the case of Devil's Tower, it is so unusual, it is so anomalous that it is easy to ascribe a mystical or spiritual attribute to it. It's not surprising that Hollywood directors would choose this as the place that aliens would land from outer space.
In the mid-1970s, one of the most important events in the history of Devil's Tower took place, and that was the filming of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In that movie by Steven Spielberg, the tower is a spot that many people are drawn to, and they don't know why they're drawn to it. They're drawn to it from all over the country. It turns out, as the movie goes on, that they're drawn here because they've been abducted sometime during their life by aliens. A UFO lands on top of the tower, and Richard Dreyfuss and several other people will climb into the UFO and fly off into space. The number of visitors that came to the tower doubled the year after that movie came out, and has stayed at that level every year ever since.
I don't know if it's a landing site for UFOs, as Spielberg had in his movie, or what it might be. I mean, the more we look at it, the more baffled we are.
We are going to find things as we continue to observe and search and study the earth that we had no idea how they got there, what type of physical process created them, and we're going to learn new things all the time.
Is it Devil's Tower that is unnatural? Or is it our own limited
Isn't it unnatural?
nature that produces the confusion?
Look at it.
Yellowstone National Park. Each year, more than 4 million people travel from all over the world to experience its canyons, hot springs, and other natural wonders. But the most wondrous sight of all is a geyser that shoots a jet of superheated water more than 150 feet into the air. And it does so at such regular intervals that you can practically set your watch by it, which is why they call this geyser Old Faithful.
Old
If
Faithful.
you visit Yellowstone, it's spectacular. There are geysers all over the place. Some erupt every few minutes, some erupt every few hours. But what is remarkable about Old Faithful is You can go there with a stopwatch and you can time almost to the minute when the next eruption of Old Faithful will occur.
Most of nature is radical and unpredictable, but the really surprising feature of Old Faithful is not that it's periodic and regular, because that also happens in many places in nature. It's that it's been periodic and regular for so long. That is something that really shows us there's a lot we don't understand about nature and a lot more we need to learn.
There is something strange about that one.
For centuries, we've thought of it as a mere tourist attraction. A quaint example of Mother Nature at her most punctual. But what if we're wrong? What
Get what I'm thinking?
providing a geological countdown?
It could be a volcano underneath that's shooting the water up.
Yellowstone is famous
That's what it could be, yeah.
It's famous for magnificent geysers, but underneath
It says it's been doing that for years, but it could be.
a super volcano. And it's at least 44 miles across. It's a whole network.
I just said that. I just said that. It could be getting ready.
Super volcano, if it were to erupt, is so massive amount of energy being released
And
that it
it's
would destroy
showing
half of the continental United States.
Lava.
It would be more devastating to the entire planet than the asteroid that
A stranger has said that, and they're talking about it being a volcano.
gigantic eruption. It's happened three times in the recorded history, and we are due for another one. Who knows when? Maybe tomorrow, maybe 100, maybe 200,000 years from now, but it will happen.
What do we really know about this planet we live on? Just when we think we have Mother Nature figured out, something reminds us that we're not as smart as we think we are. After all, have we found a way to put out the Centralia fire? Or how Devil's Tower was formed? What is not knowing all the answers of why we were put here in the first place? Perhaps we're made to keep searching, to keep learning, and to keep trying to figure out the answers to the unexplained.
I like the way he says that. To the unexplained.
The battlefield.
They're not going to speak English or.
See, the size of the blade was enlarged to make a very large cutting surface. That's brutal, eh? You can see, my hands were professional. That is incredibly intimidating weapon.
Boy, I could do like it.
Akhenaten ruled in the 14th century BC.
Aye, I thought it was an advert.
Huh?
See, I thought it was an advert.
But rather than leading to inner Earth,
Unexplained.
That's not.
What do they crop circles? How the hell is that? Well, I need to go out and mating day because that would take forever to do that. So how do they appear?
I do get that way, aye. If I'm literally not getting any sleep, if I can't settle, I'll get restless.
14th century BC.
It's pretty much where it's like, I don't feel tired enough to sleep, and I'm trying to force myself, so I'm getting restless trying to do it. So most of the time I just get back up again if I can't sleep.
A god he depicted as a disc in the sky.
There are so many illustrations of them painted on the temple walls.
I can understand that. I do get restless, like.
Even King Tut was one of the children of Akhenaten and Nefertiti.
What's everybody up to anyway?
Of King Tut that also show an elongated skull.
Well,
You look at this granite bust of Meritaten, where her head extends all the way back. There's no hair.
Mm.
And you tell
There's
me
people being born like that in this day and age. It's an extra growth in the head, like cancerous like growth, but it's not. It's benign sort of thing, and it just makes your brain, your head grow around the brain, and that's what happens. So that is not unusual.
Formations serve as a medium for extraterrestrial.
I can explain that one.
Probably.
Many crop circle researchers.
That I can't explain.
How long would it take somebody to do that?
Had
I
everyone
know never got into
saying,
that.
what is this? That's a representation
Somebody
of
would
pi
see
in a geometric set.
That's it. I never knew that, Tracy. Soap under the pillow is meant to help you sleep. I never knew that. But it not melt onto your bed covers though. When you're sleeping, your body's sweating and that, would it not melt the soap?
Many of the most famous crop circles actually derive from fractal patterns.
Yeah. How the hell can that harm?
Mathematics is, of course, the universal language. If we ever
Oh, it's meant to help for restless legs. Well, I get restless legs all the time. I get to the stage where I feel like I want to stretch my legs for miles and miles and miles.
crop circles, as some believe, be an attempt from an alien civilization to reach out and communicate with us.
Does it not melt in your hair or your skin? That?
Best and top scientists are now saying that this geometry is the secret keys to the higher dimensions, and it's right there in the crops, as if they're giving us a trail of breadcrumbs, showing us how to get to the next level as a planet.
In 1947, when famous polar explorer Admiral Richard Byrd flew reconnaissance missions over the North Pole.
Admiral Richard Byrd was able to fly to the North Pole and back and recorded flying over lush green areas where none should have been. And then 3 years later, he flew over the South Pole.
It's rumored that when Admiral Byrd's task force actually got to Antarctica, that one of the first things they discovered was an entrance into a hollow Earth civilization that was populated by very, very advanced beings.
Admiral Byrd made a lot of unusual statements, including talking about what he called a new kind of craft that could fly from pole to pole.
Is it possible that entrances to another world can be found at the Earth's poles? And if so, did Admiral Byrd actually pass through one of them? According to some ancient astronaut theorists, such gateways do exist. But rather than leading to inner Earth, they may be portals to another dimension.
Do you know it's actually an advert, by the way? That is actually an advert you're watching. Because the thing we're actually waiting for is the unexplained, not about aliens. I just thought I would rewind that back and let you hear, see it. There, that's what we're waiting on the programme.
Two people who share one mind. They're people who have been able to see their own bodies while at the point of death. What happens to us after we die? Do our memories, our personalities, everything that makes us who we are, does it all just disappear? Or do we have a conscience, a soul that lives on? Well, that is what we'll try and find out.
I'd love for us to find out anything before I went and passed. I'd love to find it before I passed. Kind of like scientists prove it or something, because that would be good.
Virginia, November 10th, 2008. Accomplished neurosurgeon Dr. Eben Alexander is rushed to the hospital after suffering from severe back spasms and headaches. After performing a spinal tap, doctors discovered that his spine and brain are swollen with a thick pus-filled liquid, the sign of a deadly meningitis infection. Shortly afterward, Dr. Alexander slips into a coma. His brain begins shutting down.
My brain was being overrun by an extremely primitive, aggressive bacterial infection, one that is almost uniformly fatal. Some of the fundamental brainstem reflexes were absent. My pupils weren't responding. My neocortex was horribly damaged. People just don't come back from this kind of meningitis. My doctors called my family together, and they felt that there was no chance for recovery.
As a surgeon, Dr. Alexander helped save the lives of countless others. Now he lies helpless, at the mercy of the killer bacteria that is whittling his brain function down to nothing. But then, something remarkable happens.
So I was in very deep coma. My brain was fully inflamed from this. All 8 lobes were involved. There was really no place in my brain for any kind of conscious experience to happen.
After clinging to life by the barest of threads, Dr. Alexander eventually makes an extraordinary recovery, one that baffles his physicians. But perhaps even more baffling is the inexplicable array of sensations that Dr. Alexander believes he experienced while in a coma.
I was rescued by this slowly spinning white light that came packaged with a perfect musical melody.
People did talk about that.
I felt the sensation of going through a tunnel, of being lifted up out of space and time, and that opened up into this rich, ultra-real valley that I call the Gateway Valley. It was an incredible, beautiful scene, and yet the most profound mystery.
Did Dr. Alexander experience a hallucination? Or was he really given a glimpse into a life beyond the one we know? A life beyond death? If true, the idea is almost too incredible to comprehend. But consider this. Dr. Alexander is just one of millions who, at the point of death, claim to have taken the same virtually identical journey. A journey which is collectively referred to as a near-death experience.
A near-death experience is when somebody dies clinically and they come back to life and describe having had strange experiences, such as traveling through darkness, emerging into another realm, meeting deceased relatives, or a being of light traveling back to the body, often being told to go back to the body by this being of light. Raymond Moody was really the pioneering figure in the scientific study of near-death experiences, who wrote a book called Life After Life. Before Moody came along, you had descriptions of these accounts, but nobody called it a near-death experience.
In the United States, about 800 people a day report that they're having near-death experiences. And if you think about that over the course of years and across the whole world, that's probably millions of people. Which makes me think that this is a real phenomenon. People are really experiencing this. They're not making it up.
Before my coma, I fully bought into the teachings that the physical world is all that exists. That's kind of the conventional scientific model. But when I first opened my eyes in that ICU bed, my brain was absolutely wrecked. And all I remembered was where I'd been. So that extraordinary spiritual journey deep in coma. So that's why near-death experiencers come back to this world and realize that we are eternal spiritual beings and that our physical body is only a vessel that serves our soul in transition through this phase of our journey.
The soul. The intangible essence of who we are that lives on after we die. If the near-death experiences reported by millions have, in fact, really happened as described, then could this be proof that the soul actually exists? And that there really is some form of life beyond death?
The concept of the soul is one of the deepest, most far-reaching questions in all of science, and for that matter, in all of human history. Throughout history, poets, philosophers have tried to single out what is the soul, what is the essence of what makes us human.
It speaks to our yearning for more time, to go beyond the short amount of time that's been given us as human beings. If you look to questions about the soul, you see that these really speak to our fears, our desires, what we want most and what matters most.
Not surprising. Not everyone is convinced that the soul really exists. As far as many in the scientific community are concerned, it is little more than a concept brought about by wishful thinking.
There is a theory that says that people who are prone to have these near-death experiences are also prone to have lots of dream activity during REM sleep. Maybe they were hallucinating, or some people think that, maybe that could explain near-death experience.
I would maintain, along with virtually everybody who is engaged in the study of near-death experiences, that these are not aberrations, these are not hallucinations. How is it possible that people are having such rich, conscious experiences when the brain itself is not functioning?
There's a case report in September 2018 in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease on my case. And it makes it clear to anyone in the medical profession that I was deathly ill and that my brain was terribly devastated by this infection and should not have been able to produce any kind of consciousness. From my point of view, death of the physical body is not the end of the conscious awareness. Near-death experiences are showing us in no uncertain fashion that we are souls living in a spiritual universe, and that all the major factors involved in the events of our lives have to do with that soul journey and with that spiritual nature.
Consciousness in the absence of brain activity. According to mainstream scientists, such a thing is not possible. But what if they're missing the target? Perhaps the answer can be found by investigating further evidence that not only does a soul exist, but it might actually be transplanted from one body to another. Coming up.
Transplant surgery, some things about myself and some of my traits have changed.
Memory and even behavior patterns can be embedded in these organs.
I don't have an explanation. It's unusual.
Right. These two lassies had to have organ transplants. And when they got organ transplants in the hospital, they woke up and they felt like they had traits totally different from what they used to have. And they found out two lassies that had swapped their organs had the same traits as each other. Like one lassie had the traits to that lassie, and that lassie had the traits to that lassie because of the organ transplants. Crazy that, eh? Like say I smoke, the little lassie doesn't, and you have an organ transplant, then you didn't smoke then, and she smokes.
17-year-old Amy Tippins is having difficulty breathing. Suspecting that she has some form of pneumonia, she makes an appointment with her family doctor. But the actual diagnosis she receives is, in a word, shocking.
My senior year of high school, I started developing what I thought was pneumonia, and then when they went in and did some further testing, they realized I didn't have a pneumonia. It was actually a tumor pushing on my diaphragm and making it much harder for me to breathe. And I was in full liver failure. They said she needs to have a transplant or she'll hemorrhage to death.
With time running out, Amy received her new liver and survived. But in the months following her transplant, she found herself exhibiting interests and abilities that were not only new to her, but also surprising.
Not long after surgery, some things about myself and some of my traits had changed. But then a couple of years of my transplant, I really started to love projects like replacing flooring on my own. I never saw flooring being put in. I never saw anything like that being done. What I discovered is it was actually fun to work with my hands. Just kind of go, that's interesting.
Of course, it isn't surprising that people who've had life-saving transplant operations often report experiencing a new outlook on life. But new interests, new personality traits? Is it possible that Amy Tippins was getting these from somewhere else?
I knew my gender was a male. I knew he was 47.
and that he had been killed in a car wreck in Columbus, Georgia. So I went to the library and I started looking up obituaries for that time. And I kind of backed into his obituary and backed into figuring out who he was. What I discovered is he was a police officer. He was 47 and his name was Mike. My sister told me that he did a lot of his own home renovation. He also liked to work with his hands. He liked to do projects. When I found out who my donor was, it made a lot more sense on why some things about myself and some of my traits had changed after transplant.
Personality traits and even recreational interests coming from a transplanted organ is such a bizarre notion, even scientifically possible.
I've had clients come to the office who've had organ transplants who are baffled by what they experience. And some did have memories that were foreign to them, and then somehow or other found out what the person was like whose organ that they now have, and it matches. It's unusual, and I don't have an explanation for it.
They very often report not only the memories of the donor, but sometimes the behavioral patterns of the donor. It certainly suggests that memory and even behavior patterns can be embedded in these organs in ways that science has no clue.
After looking at all the cases that we had access to, I developed a theory about how if the brain can learn, then other organs like the heart or the lungs or the liver could learn. We analyzed 10 of the best cases where it was clear that the individual had these kinds of personality changes, and it was only later that they then met family members. One case in particular was of a young boy who had been killed in a drive-by shooting, and his heart was donated to a foundry worker who was 47 years old. What happened was he developed a passion for classical music. And then he subsequently ended up meeting the mother of this young boy. And he learned that this young man was taking classical violin lessons and literally was shot as he was leaving his music lessons. From my point of view, it simply goes to show that as much as we want to pretend that things like mind and consciousness and personality are all stuck in the brain, they're really not.
Could our memories, our identities, even our consciousness be stored in not just our brains, but within each and every part of our bodies? If that's true, could these traits also be inherited? Just like the color of our eyes or the size of our ears?
Could be.
According to a groundbreaking study conducted at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, the answer might just be a resounding yes.
About 25 years ago, we began studying the adult children of Holocaust survivors. And what we learned was that Holocaust offspring were more likely to have been diagnosed with mood and anxiety disorders. And we were able to observe epigenetic changes on actually 2 small segments of 2 stress-related genes, which really captured our attention. Then you start to wonder why a child of a trauma survivor would have such a change on their DNA. Is there a way that information somehow stays with us, maybe in our germ cells, maybe in other places, and is somehow they're passed?
The findings about the cross-generational parent transfer from Holocaust survivors to their children is evidence that the body itself is a much more exquisite system for storing energy information about our lives, and that information could not only be transferred in the case of an organ transplant, but it also could be transferred and continued across generations.
Studies like this are suggesting that we really don't know how mind, how memory, how experience work. We don't know how that resonates with us embodied.
I think it's very clear that there's something about us as beings that's beyond the brain. And people have used the word soul or spirit. It's one of those very
Pardon me.
unexplained mysteries. Who are we?
Pardon me.
What comes and goes with our bodies, our cells, our organs? There's DNA still in my bloodstream. And they say that DNA carries memories. To this day, still continue to find out information about him that go, that's interesting, on how it relates to me.
Can transplanted organs really contain some part of the donor's identity?
Could they?
Conventional medicine believes the notion is far-fetched. So, how do you explain what we just saw? Is our life experience encoded not just in our brain, but throughout our entire body? Perhaps the answer can be found by examining whether such a connection exists between two people who are physically identical in every way. Twins.
Right.
California, March 2004. Linda Jameson is up for romantic evening, which
I'm watching the Unexplained. Quite interesting.
something in her tells her
I'm on a live, are I?
identical twin sister, Terry, is in mortal danger.
Well, I was on a date with a guy. It was in the middle
You
of
keep
the dinner.
forgetting,
I said,
don't
"Oh my
you?"
gosh, I have this horrible feeling. I have to get home to see if Terry's okay because I don't feel she's okay." And when I went home, I went up to our apartment, and Terry was lying in bed, unable to speak or hear. And I mean, it was so terrifying. It was kind of like a weird virus that had taken me over like very quickly. And she got me to the ER just in time. They said, "Wow, you could have died."
Faced with what could have been a fatal viral infection, Terry was saved in the nick of time. But was Linda's belief that her sister was
They're identical.
merely a coincidence?
How can you tell the two of them apart?
Twins share more than genes. They've shared an intrauterine environment. They've shared a set of early experiences together.
Like, they'd be too hard to tell apart. Oh, that's cute.
Attachments and early developmental milestones. So the idea that twins feel really connected to each other is not very surprising.
It's a weird thing to describe to singletons, but we've always had that mysterious bond, that special bond twins have, where they can feel each other's pain or they can determine what's going to happen next with the other twin. We're just always intuiting what the other wants or what the other twin needs or, helping each
What's the
other.
difference?
Each one constantly and
Oh my god, that is crazy when you say that such identical twins.
It's often said that the bond between twins is so strong they can actually read each other's minds. But is that just an expression? Or could it be true?
Studies that were done in Copenhagen and in London took monozygotic pairs, so really, really twins, absolute identical DNA, isolated them, and then for one of them was subjected to different kinds of shocks. The distant twin was wired up with polygraph equipment, so these were designed to see what was happening in the distant twin. So one shock would have been literally an electric shock. Another would be that at a time that they didn't know, somebody behind them would drop a whole bunch of plates and make a big racket. So they found roughly 8 to 10% of the twins that were tested showed that there was some kind of correlation between one person getting a shock and the other person responding.
30% of twins report a telepathic connection with their twin. And it is because they're sharing a similar genetic code on some level.
Right, you might need to get that repaired.
They're also connected on a soul level that allows them to
The only thing is,
telepathic communication.
you don't want to speak to family about it, so what do you do?
But we also called it twin tuition because there was no word to describe that weird, mysterious feeling.
You can get an electrician then, it'd cost you, but you'd get your electrics fixed. Would that not be best? An electrician?
Despite the claims of Linda and
I think it would be best. Because nobody else is going to help you.
often argue that what is
That is cute.
as a psychic connection between twins is merely an misinterpretation of the fondness they have for each other.
Oh.
But if identical twins really do share
Hmm.
an inexplicable attachment, then perhaps evidence of this link can be found in cases of twins who have remarkable similarities, even though they were raised separately.
So I've been working with twins raised apart for many years, and we find that identical twins do show many traits in common, even after years of separation. So, for example, the Jim twins, Jim Lewis and Jim Springer, grew up in Ohio, about 30, 40 miles apart, and they had a long list of similarities. For one thing, they both had woodworking benches in their houses. They both loved to do woodwork. They both had dogs named Toy, and they both had older sons that they named James Allen. Both of them worked part-time as sheriffs. Both drove light blue Chevrolets, and they both used to vacation on the same 3-block strip of beach in Florida. We don't know the reason for that, but the point is that when you see these similarities repeated in identical twins raised apart and not in fraternals, it creates a whole new set of hypotheses that you can begin to explore.
Whether people want to look at the evidence, that's up to them, and we're not trying to convince anyone, but it's a weird thing. It's like we're two wings of a bird in a way. Well, we believe that we were bifurcated, a bifurcated soul, which means one soul with two bodies.
If one soul can be shared between two people, as Linda and
I
Terry,
think you're sleeping, Tracy.
could it also explain how twins appear to communicate with each other telepathically? And if so, does this shared consciousness simply go away after one of them dies? Perhaps the answer can be found by hearing the
Take it
story
as
of
an
a man
item.
who believes his soul doesn't just serve one body, but several. Coming up.
There was a magazine I was reading through and came across a full-figure picture of General John B. Gordon. And I looked at the face and I told people I know the face very well. It was me.
Mondays at 9 on Sky History.
Sharpsburg, Maryland, May 1991. Connecticut Fire Chief Jeffrey Keene is on a road trip with his wife when suddenly he feels a strange urge to make a detour.
My wife and I like to go antique hunting, and we had been through Pennsylvania and headed down into Maryland. We were very near where the Battle of Antietam had been fought. And I was always impressed with the bravery of the men that fought in the Civil War. It strikes a chord in you. So I asked my wife if it was okay if we take a little side trip to go see the battlefield.
On September 17, 1862, Union forces cornered Confederate troops near Antietam Creek as they attempted an incursion into Maryland. It was the first major battle of the Civil War.
Hiya to the viewer.
Soil. All told, almost 125,000 soldiers took part in the fighting. By day's end, the battlefield was soaked with the blood of more than 22,000 souls. Now, nearly 130 years later, Jeffrey Keene and his wife arrived at the battlefield, hoping to experience a bit of this history. But while visiting the site, Jeffrey had a very different experience, one that would prove to be far more personal than he could ever have imagined.
Well, we went to the battlefield, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. I started crying. I had burning tears running down my cheek. I didn't know what was going on. And I literally crawled up to the side of the road
and I got myself together, went back to the car. On the way home, we stopped at a gift store, and there was a magazine there. The whole magazine was done on Antietam. And when we got home, I was reading through and came across a full-figure picture of General John B. Gordon. He was a colonel at the battle, and he'd been wounded 5 times, but he survived. And I looked at the face, and I tell people I know the face very well. I shave it every morning.
Jeffrey Keane, Confederate General John B. Gordon.
Fuck.
The resemblance is, in a word, uncanny. So much so that Jeffrey began to wonder, could the strange reaction he experienced while visiting Antietam be some sort of emotional echo? A connection that suggests that Jeffrey Keane is actually John B. Gordon, reincarnated?
Could be.
Reincarnation is the process that allows your soul to take on a new life, a new body. In other words, you are born in a human body, you finish that cycle, you're deceased, then you continue to recycle that soul from one body to the next while being within the same earth plane.
A lot of people say to me, why don't I remember lifetimes? I say you do, you just don't realize that you do. There'd be haunting songs, a desire to go to certain places, to countries and things, the furniture that you use to decorate your house, your hobbies, the clothes you wear, and so on.
Can departed souls really pass into new bodies? And if so, what evidence might there be to support such an incredible claim? According to Jeffrey Keane, there are signs that can be found once you know where to look for them.
In Antietam, where Gordon was wounded, he described that he had been shot through the right calf, higher up on the same leg, in the left arm. So I had a pretty good picture of where he'd been wounded. Now, on my right leg, I have, I guess you would call them varicose veins. I have them in 2 places. On my right calf, higher up on the same leg. My left arm, I had a blood clot removed when I was in my 20s. Seems to me that could have been one of the places Gordon had been wounded. When you use the word coincidence, it can apply in some cases, but there's small coincidences and then there's big coincidences. What I have is evidence. I have very strong evidence.
Are Jeffrey Keane's scars evidence that our souls are recycled back into this world after we die? According to some researchers, the answer is yes. And they argue that further proof can be found not only in physical scars, but also in mental ones.
There's been substantial research done at the University of Virginia with children, showing that a subset of these children remember times before they were born that are then confirmed by historical records. And those data are very consistent with the idea that reincarnation is a real phenomenon.
The reason why it is significant to study children, it is because their memories are still fresh. They haven't been on the earth for a very long time. So they still have that remembrance of the past life very vividly in their mind. For example, one of the most famous reincarnation stories is that of Shanti Devi. Shanti, since the age of 4, kept telling her parents that she came from another town called Mathura. After being interviewed by her teachers, she gives them the name of her husband, who's still alive and lived in Mathura at that time. They end up locating a merchant in Mathura whose wife had died 10 days after giving birth to their son. Shanti recognizes him and says, "This is my husband, Kedar Nath." She even says that he neglected to carry out the promises that he made on her deathbed.
Ultimately, Mahatma Gandhi set up a commission to determine whether or not this story was accurate, and the committee members decided that this was in fact proof of reincarnation.
I don't think anybody should be forced to believe anything, but I know it's true to me. You have to make up your own mind. All I ask is you keep an open mind.
If our souls can in fact be recycled, I hope mine doesn't get put in the shredder. But if, as many believe, we're locked in a never-ending cycle of life and rebirth, what happens when that cycle gets interrupted and we're literally brought back from the dead? Perhaps the answer can be found by meeting people who not only return, but have come back with extraordinary abilities. Coming up.
All of a sudden, in front of me was this bright light. Then I passed through the entrance to the light, and I was in a place of rolling hills and beautiful color.
What are you up to?
On Sky History 2.
Seattle, Washington, December 1976. Research biologist Joyce Hawkes is spending a quiet Saturday at home. But on this particular day, something happens that will alter the course of her entire life.
I was vacuuming right in front of my fireplace. And up on the ledge on the fireplace was a large, beautiful leaded glass window that I purchased in an antique store. All of a sudden, this leaded glass window is coming at me. And I boom, and it hits me. And all I remember then is just all of a sudden, in front of me was a long, dark tunnel. And at the end was this bright light. And I was drawn to it. Then I passed through the entrance to the light, and I was in a place of rolling hills and beautiful color. And then, bang, I'm back all of a sudden on the floor in my living room.
In the months after her near-death experience, Joyce hoped to return to normalcy, resume her scientific work in the lab. But she soon realized that, after her brush with the afterlife, nothing would be the same. Because Joyce now had the ability to see things that no one else could.
What I noticed is I could see inside people's bodies. I could read their bodies. And there are times when I actually can look into people's bodies and see something going on that hasn't been diagnosed. I resigned my position at the lab, and I started seeing individuals in the basement of my house. One time a woman came to me and was on the treatment table, and all of a sudden her abdomen opened up and I saw a small tumor in a very precise location. And I said, please go to your doctor and have it checked out. She had to have surgery, and it saved her from having a very serious kind of uterine cancer.
In the case of near-death experiences, a number of people report developing heightened intuition, gaining some kind of psychic ability. They report manifestations of the paranormal that seem to be much more common after these kinds of experiences.
A materialistic scientist would say, how can that be? These things don't exist at all. But in fact, they're reported hundreds and hundreds of times.
There's something beyond the neurons, the astrocytes, the glial cells in our brain going chunk, 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 chunk. Something beyond that, which we have awareness of.
The power to see through flesh and diagnose ailments might seem preposterous, but could it be true? Is it possible that when Joyce Hawkes nearly died, she came back with psychic abilities that defy explanation? Perhaps the answers can be found by examining cases in which people claim to not only see someone's ailment, but also heal it. Richmond, Virginia, September 5th, 2005. David Schwartz goes to the hospital to be treated for what he believes is a nagging ear infection. But in fact, his illness is much, much worse.
I checked myself into the emergency room. That was Monday afternoon, and by Tuesday afternoon, I was in a coma. My kidneys were shut down, all my organs were failing, and the blood flow was lost to my brainstem as well, which would have meant brain death. They told my mom and my dad that really that I had a limited amount of time left.
With their son facing certain death due to kidney failure, David's parents were willing to try anything that might help him. So they reached out to Scarlett Heinbuck, a woman who, after having a near-death experience in childhood, claimed to be gifted with incredible healing powers.
When I walked in David's hospital room for the first time, I knew he was near death. He was unconscious, and I took his hand, and I was standing right by his bedside when all of a sudden I was out of my body in another realm. He was hovering there, and there was the soul connection, and I felt him with every fiber of my being, and he made a decision at that point to come back.
When I first awoke and saw Scarlett, I had the sense that I knew who she was and I knew everything about her.
David looked up at me, and all of a sudden, the next thing I was aware of was that I was seeing 4 beings. They were tall and they were colored blue. I saw them manifesting a set of kidneys, if you will. I saw the kidneys being dropped into his body. David's recovery after that was so stunning that the doctors and nurses at this hospital called a miracle boy.
When I came out of the coma, it was absolutely because we had an experience. I don't know what happened there, but I do know that it happened because the doctors told me that they didn't have an explanation as to why I was making the recovery that I was making.
Today, David Schwartz has 2 fully functioning kidneys, and both he and Scarlett Heinbuck have no doubt in their minds that it was the powerful connection between their souls that saved David's life. Are stories like those of Joyce Hawkes and Scarlett Heinbuck evidence that the soul is real and can actually become empowered with strange and otherworldly abilities? According to people who study near-death experiences, the answer is a profound yes. And they also insist that these tales of strange coincidences and psychic connections are really meant to assure us that we are all very much connected. And not only in the ways we've been taught to imagine. Everything that lives must also eventually die. And yet, for people who believe they've touched or been touched by what they refer to as the other side, death is not an ending, but a gateway toward a new beginning. They live with the certainty that the rest of us will never have. That is, until we die.
I think near-death experiences and related phenomena are so fascinating, frustrating, and mysterious because the footprints they leave behind are very muddy. And what I mean by that is there seems to be enough proof, enough anecdotal evidence to where if people really want to believe these stories, they want to believe this phenomena, they certainly can. But for those that are absolutely certain that these experiences are by and large byproducts of naturalistic phenomena, like biological stress, then there certainly is not enough compelling evidence that would be able to shift them over.
I've heard that near-death experiences are really some kind of vision or sleep experience. For myself, I know it wasn't because I know what my dreams were like, and this was so different than that. It's far beyond a dream state or a state where there's no oxygen to the brain and you have some kind of weird thing that lasts.
Now, before my coma, I thought, well, it's just a hallucination. It's a trick of the dying brain. So in many ways, it was very refreshing as I came out of this experience, and especially in those months after my coma. I came to realize that there are a number of scientists, literally hundreds of scientists around the world, who've been studying this problem very diligently for decades, and they're actually making tremendous progress.
It's that there might be energies, forces, things that we haven't yet discovered that we may never discover. And however you want to fill in that gap, whether it's this mysticism, spirituality, religion, I think that's left to each individual person.
Near-death experiences. The psychic connections between identical twins. And tales of reincarnation. Are these all evidence that there really is a soul? Or is it that we're all so desperate to believe in our own immortality that we look for evidence to reassure ourselves that death is not really the end?
I think it's real.
But prove why we can be champion of champions. I think it's a huge honor, and I think you should be broken to earn it. So.
Hey, I mean,
Better than that.
and most of the
Nope, not yet. I hear the birds.
$20,000.
We grew up on Wild West stories.
Butch Cassidy was one of the last of his kind.
The Dawsons are taking $20,000 from their train robberies.
They needed to get rid of the gold, and they did it.
They would have stashed some loot at the hideout, and you're going to go find it.
This is like a dream come true for me.
Oh, I got it. It's an oldie. All while we were growing up, my brother and I were fascinated with finding treasure. Pirate treasure, cursed treasure, Civil War gold. Since then, our work on Oak Island has shown us there's a world of mysteries waiting to be explored. So we like to reach out to other treasure hunters.
X marks the spot right there.
Yeah, brilliant. We want to hear their stories. That's right. And share our insights. So we've got games, and who knows? I got it. Maybe we can help them with their search. Not only in America. Wow, that is cool. But all over the world.
On the world's greatest treasure mysteries. Wild West Gold.
You know what's amazing is that no matter how much information we compile on these treasure-based stories, it's like there's just more and more.
And a lot of them.
Yeah, and I'm always surprised along the way of just how many twists and turns, and yet similarities these things have.
Oh, hey, there he is.
Oh, James.
Gary Drayton.
My mate from another state.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing, chaps?
You find anything today?
Not today, but what I have found is probably a really good potential treasure hunt.
What's that all about?
I got a call from Bill Benson, who was the great-grandnephew of Butch Cassidy, and Butch Cassidy in the Sundance Kid fame.
Wow. No kidding.
His great-grandmother was Butch Cassidy's sister, and he wants me to go out to Utah and search a place called Robber's Roost, one of the hangouts of Butch and his gang, the Wild Bunch.
The conjecture, I suppose, is they would have stashed some loot at the hideout, and you're going to go find it.
Yeah, because these guys were prolific train robbers and bank robbers, and when they stole stuff, it was mainly $20 gold pieces. And they're heavy, so when they're getting these sacks of gold coins, you can't take those around with you. You would have to bury the gold. And this hideout of theirs, Robber's Roost, is really remote, and so we're going to see what's there.
You're not enthusiastic about doing that, are you? You know, for me, it conjures up memories of reading these stories as a child. I mean, we grew up on Wild West stories.
Like many young boys of their generation, Oak Island's Rick and Marty Lagina were raised on TV shows set in the Wild West.
I mean, I was actually there. You smelled the gun smoke. You heard the guns go off. You saw the horses race down the trail. It came alive. So, Butch Cassidy, obviously, the question presents itself. Have you seen the movie?
I have, mate. I grew up in England. That's what we watched, all the American movies.
Execution up done right there, but Paul Newman is Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid is Robert Redford. They robbed trains, looted banks. They got him up.
Oh, you're so damn smart, you read it.
They were outlaws, running out of time and out of space.
You jump first. No, I said. What's the matter with you?
No, it's a great movie. I mean, it's a classic movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a funny thing. We tend to romanticize the Wild Wild West.
And we all root for, I know it sounds bad, but the bad guys a lot.
The underdog, for sure. You know, if the authorities are zeroing in on somebody, you kind of want them to prevail. You know, I mean, you sort of do.
You know what's interesting about the movie, and we've all seen it, right? You know, other than, I'm sure they probably didn't look exactly the same as Robert Redford and Paul Newman, I guess the film is rather historically accurate to what happened to them.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I think so, yeah.
During the heyday of the Old West, institutions like railroads and banks were considered easy targets for outlaws, as they usually carried large caches of gold and silver to cover the hefty payrolls required to pay the thousands of men who were working on the railroads. And there was also an increasing number of settlers who were bringing all their earthly belongings with them from back east. Even a mediocre outlaw could pocket thousands of dollars with each holdup, while the average wage earner was making just $10 a week.
That's a wee bit better.
But for outlaws like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, robbing trains and holding up banks was becoming tougher. As cars and telephones were rapidly replacing horses and telegraphs as tools used by those in law enforcement.
Move that right, I think there's only a wee gap left. Go and pull that down there. To right to the very bottom.
When the ranches are being consolidated, when the
I know there's only a wee tiny gap left, but just pull it right into the bottom.
Steal from their trains.
I'm getting a flash.
Cassidy never robbed from poor people. He only robbed from corporations usually.
This top's way too big for me,
But also very wealthy people. And he was famous at one time for robbing a train. And
right, that's what my thank you. I couldn't get myself.
He said simply, you have great wealth and we have great need.
That's better.
After several successful robberies, Butch Cassidy and his gang set their sights on what they thought would be their last great heist.
Look at that, Harry.
Wilcox train robbery.
On the morning of June 2nd, 1899,
No, I didn't want them listened. I want them tightened.
is making its way outside of
And no, that's them at the tightest. If you moved them up there, I would be at the biggest. That same tightened. Yes. I know that same tightened, Harry. You can try it, but I know for a fact that's the same tightened. Go for it then. Come here then. My top's way too big for me.
Made off with $50,000 in cash and gold, which would be the equivalent of a staggering $1.5 million today. The robbery became the most notorious of its time, which brought the gang directly to the attention of the authorities.
So by that point, the railroads are fed up with having been robbed repeatedly by this one particular gang.
A $3,000 reward for each of the outlaws was immediately offered. And a posse of nearly 100
Oh, that is tighter actually.
members of the infamous Pinkerton National Detective Agency were rounded up to ruthlessly hunt down Cassidy and his gang.
And try the other side.
Justice.
The Pinkertons are a sign that things are changing. And Pinkertons, by this point, have a large database of criminal photographs. Just as the Old West is consolidating, so is law enforcement and government.
If the Pinkertons wanted you badly enough, they were going to find you. They were relentless. They were vicious. They were just as bad as the outlaws, and in some ways worse.
That one.
Pinkertons hot on the trail.
Just a wee bit
The
further
wild
down.
bunch needed to find a safe place to stash their loot.
Just a wee bit.
And then recover it once things had cooled down.
That's better. I'm sitting here trying to cover up because I thought my top was too big for me.
To South America,
That should go.
fellow outlaw the Sundance Kid and his wife Etta Place.
Yeah.
Much better, thank you. My top was huge on me.
That it would be easy pickings for experienced outlaws who'd be able to make a couple of quick scores and then live comfortably for the rest of their lives.
In 1908, 7 years after Butch and Sundance had escaped to South America,
Sundance? Harry, Sundance. The line dancer is that no? Because my grand dance by a line dancer called Sundance. He nicknamed himself Sundance. I know my grand told me the story, Harry.
On the evening of the 6th of November, Bolivian soldiers and police surrounded the pair in a small mountain lodge. A shootout ensued, but when the dust had settled, no one could be really sure as to the fate of the two outlaws.
We don't have, let's say, the most reliable account of the ultimate downfall of Butch and Sundance. We have to rely on the reports of the Bolivian authorities.
Although most historians insist that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid met their end on a dusty Bolivian street, there are a growing number who have become convinced that not only did at least one of them survive, but that they actually returned to America with the intention of retrieving their hidden bullion.
My great-grandma, Butch's younger sister, said that he wasn't killed in Bolivia, and she claimed that he came back and visited the family in 1925.
If Butch Cassidy did survive, was he able to claim the thousands in stolen gold that reportedly lay hidden somewhere near his gang's infamous hideout? If not, could it mean that the gold is still out there, just waiting to be found? Coming up.
Right here is where they killed Joaquin Muñeta.
He stole over $4.5 million. So we got the chance to find me some gold coin. Sweet.
All wheel.
So Butch Cassidy, for me, it conjures up memories of Wild West stories. It inflamed the imagination because when you think about it, Wild West and the participants, there are some very interesting historical figures, and we're dealing with
Sorry about saying the word, but Bella, come on. Enough.
Bella, Barker, take the board then.
You said that about block nose. Yeah, you fixed it. I'm not flashing now. Thank you, that's much better.
legend perspective, right? You know, the Wild West.
Like it might be bulky there, but it's not too bulky to flash.
People moving money around, and you had gold rushes going on. You had people.
It's just a top that's too big for me. I usually wear size 6s,
You know, I've always been, since I was a kid, captivated by the West. And one of my favorite stories, just for their sheer audacity of what they attempted, is the Dalton Gang.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They took a big swing, and what ended up happening to them is one of the great stories of the American West, really.
Coffeyville, Kansas, the 5th of October, 1892. A gang of bank robbers that included 4 Missouri-born brothers known as the Dalton Gang prepared to carry out one of the most brazen crimes ever attempted in the annals of the Wild West.
The plan is to rob 2 banks simultaneously in Coffeyville, Kansas, which are on opposite sides of the street. 3 members of the gang will hit 1 bank, 2 will hit the other, and then they'll escape with the largest haul that they've ever had.
Before the day ended, the streets would be soaked in blood, and a fortune in gold and silver coins would lay buried and unclaimed in a campsite somewhere south of the crime scene.
In the months leading up to the Coffeyville raid, the Daltons robbed 2 trains in Oklahoma, taking anywhere between $9,000 and $20,000. The night before the Coffeyville raid, they camped at a place called Onion Creek.
Onion Creek.
And it's there that the legend of the lost treasure of the Daltons emerges.
While they were in camp, they had $20,000 from their train robberies, and they buried it at the campsite. They didn't want to burden their horses down with this $20,000 that was, by the way, in gold and silver coins. Today, that's about $20 billion. And after they robbed the banks, they were going to return to the Onion Creek campsite, retrieve what they had buried there, and then flee into Oklahoma.
The following morning, the gang awoke early and rode towards what would become their date with disaster.
It may be that somehow the town got word that the Daltons were coming and were ready for them.
A young man thought he recognized him, and he ran in and he said, "That's the Daltons."
The townspeople immediately knew it was the Dalton Gang, and the alarm went up. The citizens of Coffeyville promptly armed themselves and prepared to greet the Daltons after they emerge from the 2 banks.
Emmett and Bob Dalton entered the first bank where the robbery proceeded as planned. Grant Dalton and 2 other gang members hit the second bank, but the bank teller tried to stall them.
Grant, we would charitably call him dim-witted. He wasn't good at thinking on his feet, and the teller in the Condon Bank told him that he couldn't open the vault yet, that it was on a time lock. So Grant decided to wait.
Outside the banks, the number of armed citizens grew to more than 100.
They were to defend the honor of Coffeyville.
And in those days, there weren't insurance companies that covered the loss. If a bank was robbed, people lost their money.
Now it was just a matter of time before all hell broke loose on the streets of Coffeyville, Kansas. When the outlaws emerged, the townspeople greeted them with a hail of gunfire.
What happens after that is a melee that's very difficult to describe. Throngs of citizens shooting at the outlaws shooting back, blood flying everywhere, total mayhem.
A couple of them had climbed aboard their horses and were riding away. Some of the loot was spilling out of the saddlebags. Some of it was dropped in the street. It was a very adventurous attempt, but a very unsuccessful bank robbery.
The only survivor is Emmett. He survives being shot anywhere from 23 to 27 times. Lives to stand trial, his hospital bed wheeled into the courtroom every day.
Emmett was found guilty of his nefarious activities and sentenced to life in prison.
When Emmett was finally released in 1907, having served 14 years, authorities believed he would lead them to the Onion Creek treasure, but they were mistaken.
He knows people are following him, but when asked, he says that he had no intention to retrieve the treasure because to him it was even cursed in a way. So he had no intention of ever finding the money again.
As far as we know, the $20,000 that was stolen in 1892 in gold and silver coins is still buried near that Onion Creek campsite.
Did the Dalton Gang leave behind a fortune in gold and silver coins near Onion Creek? To this day, treasure hunters continue to search this barren land for the priceless cash that has remained hidden for more than a century. Will that treasure ever be discovered? Only time will tell.
what's interesting about that is Emmett Dalton. He went into real estate, went to Hollywood. He was an advisor on movies, but he's still stalked basically by the law because they believed that there was a treasure on Onion Creek. And he wouldn't go back. And it's interesting, that aspect of would you want to go back to the scene of the crime type of thing. You know, some people, I guess.
Yeah, some seem to get pulled back into it, and some think, nah, I had enough of that now.
Right, which is incredible.
Yeah, for it not to go back knowing that there's treasure there.
There are some parts of your life I think you want to just put behind you. In our own case, my father was brought up in an orphanage. So one day I said, geez, Dad, maybe we got to go back to where you were raised and just sort of check it out. And he looked at me and said, nah. It was a big part of his life, but it wasn't the happiest time of his life. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I think in Dalton, he just didn't want to go back there. I mean, picture it really. Picture that you do have a new life, and you're making money, and you've got a legitimate life, and you think to yourself, 10 kinds of hell that I'm going to create if I go back and dig up this treasure. I mean, you're going to really wreck your life, right? Because you might even go back to jail.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah, I'd go back.
All right, fine.
Coming up.
Joaquin Murrieta was a cross between Robin Hood and Zorro. Wherever you find there's about 5 lies. Was he Robin Hood or just Robin?
We're back, Oak Island.
Fellowship of the Dig.
What we got here?
Bingo, it's gold.
All right.
The search for gold is what drove this 230 years ago. This doesn't look like a wild goose chase. It looks like there's some gold here.
Is it gold? Yes.
I still believe there's some answers in this swamp. The goal, the focus, the hope that was always solve the mystery.
This is the year we go for the gold.
Go for the gold, go for the gold. I want to find the answers.
This island has got to be close to giving up its secrets.
Brand new. The Curse of Oak Island. Wednesdays at 9 on Sky History.
I love these. They're great. Perfect.
For £6, you really can't go wrong. Even if you've got a spare or backup pair of glasses, I think you really can't go wrong.
They feel really good quality. They don't feel cheap at all.
I've got my last pair from opticians, and these are just as good.
I just can't get over the price. I cannot get over the price. £6.
£6? Are you sure?
I've been paying like 10 times the price for these designs from my opticians, if not more.
When that's the value that you can get, then why would you shop anywhere else?
This is the Body Zone mattress topper from Dormeo, featuring award-winning Octaspring technology. It's designed to improve the comfort and support of any bed, helping you sleep better and helping you wake feeling refreshed, revived, and ready to take on your day. Right now, the Body Zone mattress topper from Dormeo is half price, making this an unmissable offer. It's our mission to give everybody quality sleep on a quality product at an affordable price. With the Body Zone mattress topper, you can easily turn your existing mattress into a luxury 5-star sleep experience. But it's not just for mattresses. You can use it on a guest bed, on the sofa. It even works directly on the floor. It's so comfortable you can offer your guests a bed you can be proud of. Could you get a good night's sleep on that old, uncomfortable sofa bed? No, but now your guests will, thanks to the superior comfort and support provided by the award-winning Octaspring technology. Octasprings take the support of a pocket spring and the comfort of memory foam and combines them to produce an amazing topper that will help you get your best night's sleep ever. Plus, the design means it's 8 times more breathable than a traditional memory foam topper, so you'll sleep deeply on a cooler, fresher surface every night. The Body Zone topper has been designed for exceptional comfort. It has 5 separate zones, 3 firmer comfort zones, and 2 softer support zones, ensuring your head, shoulders, back, hips, and legs have the individual levels of comfort and support they need. The Body Zone mattress topper has been recognized for its comfort, its support, and its contribution to proper sleep, and is now a Good Housekeeping approved product. And the Octaspring technology inside has won a number of prestigious awards. Every Body Zone mattress topper comes with free fast delivery, and our 60-night comfort guarantee means you can try it in the comfort of your home for a full 2 months. If you don't agree that it transformed your mattress into a 5-star sleep experience, simply send it back for a 100% refund. We are proud of the design, materials, and workmanship in the Body Zone topper, so we've given it our special 5-year warranty for complete peace of mind. We'll also include, as a free bonus, the Octasmart Pillow, featuring the same Octaspring technology for the complete sleep solution. It is supremely comfortable, and its enhanced breathability will help keep you feeling cool and fresh all night long. It's a £49 value, but it's yours as a free bonus to make this offer extra special. And right now, Dormeo Body Zone Topper is half price, just £199, or 3 easy payments of $66.33. There's never been a better time to upgrade your mattress, upgrade your sleep, and therefore upgrade your life. As part of this special offer, you'll enjoy our 60-night sleep guarantee, a 5-year warranty, free fast delivery, bonus Octasmart Pillow, and the incredible Body Zone Mattress Topper at half price. Go online or call our trusted Dormeo sleep experts right now and order your very own Body Zone Mattress Topper at half price. Call now.
When you really need a new pair of glasses, it's just not worth waiting. Get your new specs the very next day with Select Specs Express. Prescription glasses made in the UK and guaranteed delivered to your door the very next day from just $29.95. Frames, lenses and next day delivery all included from just $29.95 at selectspecs.com/express. The paranormal.
You can't be comfy. If you want to go to sleep, why don't you settle down?
What were they? They were land pirates, really. That's what they were. The same romantic ideas, the same sense of...
Go get yourself comfy, Harry.
I mean, if you went from an ocean environment...
You can't sleep like that.
These people were actually every bit as scheming, every bit as consumed.
I'm going to go to my bed in maybe half an hour now.
Ill-gotten gains. There was rascally wealth. Yep. Was there one you gravitate to? Was there one that stands out? I mean, the real-life Zorro, if you will, is, to me, a very interesting historical figure. You know, he was an individual named Joaquin Murrieta. He was kind of a cross between Robin Hood and Zorro, right? The legends go that he would steal from the rich and give to the poor. It was less about the acquisition of treasure for himself and his gang than it was about, shall we call it, the redistribution of wealth. Right. I think there's substance. There's even a geographic area where they think that he buried treasure.
High in the Diablo mountain range, 13 miles from Coalinga, California, sit 3 ominous sandstone outcroppings known as the Joaquin Rocks. They're named after Joaquin Murrieta, a Robin Hood-style
Smelly.
who would later be the inspiration for the legendary character Zorro.
Please subscribe to my channel.
He's the inspiration for Zorro because in the process of hunting down those
I'm on my life.
did him wrong, he would take gold from those that had it and gave it to needy people. And in Mexico, Zorro means fox. And they're very conniving, very smart. They normally have 2 or 3 pathways to escape.
But for legions of treasure hunters, Joaquin was a gold miner turned outlaw who left behind a cache of gold valued at more than $4.5 million in today's money.
Harry, is that empty? The ashtray, is that empty? Are you able to empty that in there?
You can see for miles and miles around. You can see people coming from 40, 50 miles away. It was very important to have a good look.
I've got it's so full, Harry.
A dramatic life
Harry,
of
no.
Joaquin Murrieta reads like it was ripped from the pages of an old Western novel. No one can say for certain.
Harry, come on, it's so full.
Actually, for every true fact that you find about Joaquin, there's about 5 lies.
The version that most agree on has Murrieta migrating from Mexico to California in the late 1840s to mine for gold.
When Murrieta started, he was a cowman or a vaquero. They were paid very poorly, sometimes $1 a day, sometimes $2 a day.
I was meaning just empty some of it in there.
And the gold rush was huge in California, and especially huge for people who thought about easy money. About 300,000 came out. They were all hoping to get rich and some will take rich.
Joaquin and his older brother Jesus reportedly amassed a fortune in gold. but jealous American prospectors attacked them and falsely accused Jesus of being a horse thief.
No.
His wife also came out to help him, and then she bled to death. Joaquin wanted to file a complaint, and they got the sheriff, and the sheriff told him, can't do anything for you. They want to give him justice. He told him to forget it.
But Joaquin Murrieta would never forget it. Instead, he made a fateful decision there and then to devote his life to avenging the murders of his wife and brother.
Joaquin got together with his brothers, his cousins, and his neighbors, and they wanted justice. And in the process, when they killed them, they stole their gold, and they became outlaws. And once they were outlaws, everything was fair game.
Murrieta and his band of desperados rode through the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys, serving up vigilante justice as they saw fit. By doing so, this masked troupe not only became Mexican folk heroes, they also
And you know, I'm wide awake myself, like, I'm actual wide awake. So God knows when I'm going to get to sleep tonight. It's like when you feel awake. So there's no point in going to my bed now. Because I'll just sleep during the afternoon if I got my bed now. May as well just stay up now. I'm wide awake anyway. So I'll just stay up now. I didn't see any point in going to bed now. If I get too tired, I might go for maybe an hour or two, but that's it.
This guy's stole over $4.5 million worth of gold.
I take it you've been trying, Tracy. Please like to my channel and subscribe down below.
The local authorities were powerless to stop the thefts. Eventually, they called upon the newly formed California Rangers, and California's governor offered a $1,000 cash reward for Joaquin Murrieta. More than $200,000 in today's money.
The California Rangers, under the direction of Captain Harry Love, were a
Nah,
posse of
that's horrible when you get that.
law enforcers that hunted and killed.
But hopefully you can sleep the night, Tracy. Good luck to you.
For months, Murrieta and his gang evaded capture in the isolated mountains near the present-day city of Fresno, where some say they buried their treasure.
They knew that they were being surrounded by Captain Love and his army. They needed to get rid of the gold, and they did it.
Eventually, the California Rangers kidnapped Murrieta's brother-in-law, where they tortured him until he gave up the location of where the gang was hiding.
Right here in this riverbed is where they claim Captain Love killed and beheaded Joaquin Murrieta.
To prove that Joaquin was actually dead, his head was preserved in a jar of alcohol and exhibited throughout California, where viewers paid $1 each to see it. Some people, however, insisted that Murrieta did not die, and that it was another bandit's head on display. They believed that he escaped capture and made his way safely back to Sonora, Mexico.
Some say the famous Joaquin Murrieta was never killed and died of old age in Mexico. He never came back to Three Rocks as he planned to dig his gold and take it back to Mexico. And so this is why the stories of his treasure is still spoken of today.
I think this guy's pretty cool, right? I mean, this is really interesting because what was he really? Was he Robin Hood or was he just Robin?
That's true. A lot of these stories I've noticed too that on one.
Maybe, Tracy, I tell you, you've got your phone in your hand watching me while trying to sleep. Or you playing games on your phone or going through Facebook or something.
Either our founding fathers or they were traitors, right?
Depending on
what's Ben Franklin's famous quote? We must all hang together or we will surely all hang separately.
Yeah. Because to the British government, they were certainly traitors. That's what they were.
I think I'll agree with that.
It's over, Gary. The war is over.
There's a lot of similarities with these stories. They almost come up as myths. The deaths themselves of these people are often shrouded in legend and lore. And, we don't want these legends to die a lot of times.
No, we don't. Well, the reality is that they don't die. Otherwise, we would not be sitting around this table discussing. Which brings me back to my key thing, whether there's a treasure or not, right? If Joaquin died and his head's in the jar, then I think his treasure's out there. If he escaped and was living it up in Mexico, he probably took it with him.
Same with Butch Cassidy. I mean, there's stories now that he survived a Bolivian shootout and he lived his days in the US. That's what people want to believe.
And now you're going to bring that story back to life. And it'd be fantastic if there really is something at Robert's Roost.
I believe there is, mate. And if you see me come back riding the bike, singing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, you know I found it.
Go get it, buddy. Go get
All
it.
right.
See you,
See you later, chaps. This is way out in the boonies for me. Well, we're not off the pavement yet. You born and raised around here, Bill? Yeah, so I was born in Utah, actually Fillmore, Utah, and then I had a lot of family in Circleville, where Butch actually lived as a boy.
Bill Bettinson is the great-grandnephew of Butch Cassidy and has spent 40 years retracing every step Cassidy ever took.
Butch Cassidy, he's my great-great-uncle. His younger sister was my great-grandmother. Well, so I got to grow up hearing stories from my great-grandmother, talking about her brother. My earliest memories are going to the premiere of the famous movie, and I remember watching that thinking, wow, this is the coolest. And so I just continued to dig into it, and because of my interest.
Having grown up with colourful tales of his ancestors' exploits, Bill is convinced that even though Butch Cassidy may have returned from South America, his hidden treasure may still lie buried, somewhere near Cassidy's hideout in southern Utah.
He had 3 key hideouts, but in visiting those 3 hideouts, Robert's Roost is probably the best hideout. I mean, it's remote from civilization, obscure and well protected. It takes a lot of effort to get there. Each day it hasn't really been disturbed a whole lot, so to me that'd be a great place to hide a cache of gold. And there may have been reasons that they couldn't get back to it. I was growing up with all these old Western movies, and this is like a dream come true for me. Coming out to Butch Cassidy in the Sundance Kid territory.
Bill is taking Gary to Robert's Roost. Although the area has been searched many times by professional treasure hunters, Bill is hoping that Gary's state-of-the-art metal detector can find new evidence that not only did the Wild Bunch use the area as the gang's hideout, but also that their incredible fortune in gold might still be buried nearby.
Beautiful countryside. And with the chance of finding something connected to Butch Cassidy.
Tucked between the Green, Dirty Devil, and Colorado rivers, Robert's Roost boasts tough terrain that could be easily defended and was near impossible to navigate unless you were familiar with the area.
Sweet. So we got the chance of finding some gold coins. Looks like to deal in gold over currency because it was untraceable. Now those gold coins are probably going to be the larger gold coins. The Eagles, which is a $10 gold coin, or the double Eagles, $20 gold coin. Yeah, that's what I always heard about. So $20 double Eagles. Yeah, the story is that they used to use $20 gold pieces as gaming chips. I mean, there's got to be some that would be cool to find, that's for sure. Wow, look at this. All right, let's go find some gold coin.
Coming up.
Oh, that sounds good. I got it. It's an oldie as well, but I look at it. It's a piece. Well, this is Robert's Roost Canyon. Well, this is really, really rough terrain. Yeah, it's really rugged and you could die out here. The first thing that came into my mind when we stepped out of the car at Robber's Roost was, wow. I cannot believe this site is here. You drive it up and all of a sudden, you're in Robber's Roost with all that history. So just down here, some of the carvings I wanted to show you.
Carved into the stone walls that stand above a natural spring are the names of a few of the hearty souls who previously visited the site.
Pearl Baker, she carved her name in 1920. She wrote, of course, Wild Bunch at Robbers Roost, so she documented a lot of the history of the outlaws. That's pretty amazing, man.
Bill leads Gary deep into the canyon, where they come upon the only structure still standing from the days of the Wild Bunch.
So here's the chimney. Oh man, that is awesome. Fantastic that it's still standing, 1890s. We might find some buried treasure around here because you don't bury stuff far from your cabin. Okay. I'm telling you, mate, we're going to find something good. All right.
Using a state-of-the-art metal detector, capable of scanning to depths of up to 3 feet deep underground, Gary methodically combs the barren landscape close to where Butch Cassidy's cabin once stood.
But you have to grid a site out. You can't just meander around. It has to be a nice box pattern. So if it makes a two-way repeatable signal, I'm digging it. Oh, that sounds good. It's reading 2 inches just there, mate. So if you could dig that out. Butch Cassidy would have never believed one of his descendants would be digging, looking for his treasure. I know what that is, mate. That is a little horseshoe nail. Oh, yeah. Shoeing their horses, yeah. Yep. That's your typical 1800s horseshoe nail. Yeah, it's got a lot of corrosion, so it's definitely old. This little nail is a piece of history. Yeah, this is what leads you to treasure. Well, great, yeah, let's keep going. Those little iron nails tell us that those guys were really there. Because those horseshoe nails are from the late 1800s. They're the exact things you want to be finding at that site. I'm going to make my turn around here.
Having located their first find, Gary and Bill continue to search for further items left behind by Cassidy and his gang.
Just stand there, mate. Try to pinpoint it, so cut down on the digging foot. It's an oldie as well, when I look at it. Is that an oldie, mate? You told me about those long cartridges. It is. It's 4060. That is old. Very cool. How old do you think that is, mate? Is that the period that we're looking for? Of Butch's time, yeah. So that could have been fired.
I'll go offline, see his name is Dalton. I'll speak to you all later. Night, night, and I'll speak to you on a few years.
Was invented for the Winchester model 1876, and that's the same gun that